I'm Will Kimbrough. You're watching the extended play sessions right here at the Fallout Shelter. Thanks for being here. Oldtimer, oldtimer, too late to die young now. Oldtimer, five and dimer, trying to find a way to age like wine somehow. My new stuff is nothing like my old stuff was. Neither one is much when compared to the show, which will not be as good as some other one you saw. So help me, I know I am an old-timer. Too late to die young now. Old-timer, five and dimer, trying to find a way to age like wine somehow. I've met every fool who ever signed their names upon these walls, in the back of all these beer joints and concert halls. I've been through seven managers, 5 labels, 1,000 picks, patch cables, 3 vans, a band, a bunch of guitar stands, cans and cans and cans of beer, bottles of booze, bags of pot, 1,000 other things I forgot. I thought that I'd be dead by now, but I'm not. Thanks for being here. It's good to be in Nyewood. Johnny A says hi. Y'all know Johnny A? He's he's down in Newport tonight. He's in Newport. So Johnny's he's a real Boston guy. You know, he's married to Beth, who's also a great singer, but also a hairdresser. And she told me the first time I met her, she goes, I met Johnny and I said, I'm gonna marry a guitar player. That's what she said. I'll quit doing bad accents, but that's what she said. She asked me, when does the bad luck stop? And when do we rise to the top? It's awful hard work pulling up the rear. She said, now honey, don't you want to be a big success? You can buy me a diamond and a wedding dress. I leaned in close and I whispered in her ear. I said, I like it down here with the hobos and the drunks. I like the hard-bitten rabble with their leaving trunks. Blood in my mud and sawdust in my beer. I like a wake-up call at 1:30, and if I had a job, I would get it done. I can catch real fine trash fish off the pier. I like it down here. She rolled her eyes and bit her lip, let a skinny backbone slip, lit a Chesterfield, church keyed another beer, smiled and she said, I must admit that I always did like a man with grit. And then she slapped my face and she called out with a sneer. She said, I like it down here, boss, just as much as you. I like the bilge water and the bus tub stew. I got a 3-legged dog and a one-eyed buccaneer. I drink my homemade wine from a scuppernong, smoking guns and drinking songs. I got the big steam train with a drunken engineer. I like it down here. like it down here with the hookers and the whiskey priests. I like the bat chain pullers and the shiny beast. I got a street life lover, she got a tattoo of a tear. I want a woman with a face like a question mark. You know she cleans up good when it's nice and dark. In a railroad flat with a monkey called Belvedere. Oh, here, Belvedere. Like it down here. I like it down here. Yeah. Thank you. So, just wanted to get a couple of songs in there. So I played one of my favorite Todd Snider songs, and yeah. So Todd was my friend from about 1993 on, and we worked on 10 records together and played countless shows and tours and wrote some songs, and miss him dearly. So I've been doing a lot of tributing to my friend right in the middle of all these last couple of years of tributing to my friend Jimmy Buffett, who I've made records with and wrote songs with for 20 years. So between the two of those, two of the greatest songwriters and storytellers that anybody will ever know, I had like 50 years of of trying to do stuff with them. So. Jimmy told me many years ago, one of the first things he ever said to me that was serious, he said, all roads need to lead to Norwood. No matter what you do. So, that's what he said. I mean, a lot of big things happen for you here, too. We talked about it earlier. So, about a little over a year ago, I was in Key West. And I'm dropping names right now and tooting my horn, so I'll go ahead and do it. I got nominated for a Grammy last year. But what that means is I didn't win, because if I won, I would just say I won a Grammy last year. And but I went, my wife and I went, and we had a great time. There's a whole thing on Saturday that they do that's not on TV, and then they have this awesome party Saturday night for the nominees. So everybody walks around with their little medal on a neck thing, like a little ribbon and a medal, and so you know who's a nominee. So I met people from India, Africa, San Francisco, Iowa City, all over the place. And then on Sunday during the day, they give out the Grammys for all those categories like blues and jazz and Broadway and folk and bluegrass, things that people really don't care anything about. And that was all day where we went, and they gave it like 190 Grammys at that thing. And then we went to the nighttime thing, and it was fun. But I had a gig the next day in Key West, Florida. And the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so I wasn't going to miss them. So we took the red eye from L.A. So we got on the flight was at 12:53 a.m. So we walked out of the Grammys, went back to the hotel, took off my wife had a beautiful dress, I had a suit, we took them off. We changed into our airplane clothes and flew to Miami, flew to Key West, and then we hadn't had about an hour's sleep maybe on the plane, quality sleep. But I don't want to seem ungrateful, but I had a sound check at like 2 o'clock, so by the time we got to Key West, I lay down for about 30 minutes and then set an alarm, and my wife was fast asleep in the house we had rented, so I decided I'd just walk to my sound checks. It's like 78 degrees in Key West, and I'm, going to go do a sound check. So I take my guitar and my little backpack, walk down the street, and I pass this place called the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette, which is a laundry place, but it just has that beautiful name. It just rings to me, and I thought about it that day. I was like, I've been thinking this for 30 years as I walk past this place. I've never been in there because I have this idea of what it's like. It kind of looks like this. Like you open the door, and it's like this. And everybody in there is like a cool artist or interesting person, And so I never went in there. I didn't want to spoil it. And never had to do any laundry in Key West, so I haven't been in. And I always wondered why it was called the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. And like Margaret Truman maybe it's named for the daughter of Harry and Bess Truman. You know, Harry Truman was president between Roosevelt the younger and Eisenhower, for those of you who are too young to remember. And then his wife Bess, they had a daughter, Margaret. But I thought, why would you name a laundromat after Margaret Truman? But maybe they did. Maybe she owned it, you know. And then I crossed the street to go to my sound check, and I crossed the intersection of Truman and Margaret, and I was like, oh, after 30 years, even I can now understand. But what that did, a moment of like, my God, I'm a dumbass, opened the door, and I wrote the song like right then and there, walking to my sound check. So my song at sound check that day was this song, and I walked back trying to make sure I remembered it. And then I got back to the house, and my wife was up having a cup of coffee, looking all refreshed. And I was like sitting at the island in the kitchen writing down words and playing the guitar. And she said, "Oh, did you finally write the Margaret Truman song?" And I said, "Yeah." So, but I'm going to sing it for you now. It's you know, fairly new. It's not on any record. I can't sell it to you back there at the merch table. So, but I am going to record it this week in Nashville. So I'm excited about getting a recording of a bunch of songs and putting out a new record as soon as I can, whatever that is. But there's a part on here I'd like you to sing, and it involves no words, so you really don't have any excuse to not sing. And you just have to hum along. So this is the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. I'll be listening for your hum. Out there trying to find me since I left my past behind me at a full sprint trying not to break a sweat. I'm still mending fences, but I've moved the football inches to the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. If you sort out my location at the ass end of the nation, I promise you ain't seen nothing yet. I left the hairspray helmet ladies, the lawyers in Mercedes, for the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. There we go. Now we all might be poor as dirt, steal the back right off your shirt, free from all those mortgages and debts. Here at least we get things clean. I know you know what I mean. It's Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. My friend Mike from Louisiana, he don't mind the heat. He learned how to hustle back on Rampart Street, sipping Cuban coffee, smoking cigarettes at the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. Everybody hum along. Sweet New Jersey Mary, she moved from Cape May to the Keys. She was tired of Yankee manners and that cold Atlantic breeze. But she loves mangy tabby cats and pygmy marmosets and the Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. You know, I feel at home at last after a lifetime on the road. A drifting ne'er-do-well chose to lighten up his load. We're all drunken poets here. There's no bros and bachelorettes. It's Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. It's Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. You ain't seen nothing. It's Margaret Truman Drop-Off Laundrette. Here we go. One more time for fun. Thank you so much. see if I can do this without breaking a string. No, maybe I'm going to give it a shot. Ready? Okay. Tune it up to E, open E, just 2 more strings. The tuning that I think Duane Allman used, I was up in Maine last night and this morning. I do this work with combat vets and first responders. Well, thank them. With Songwriting with Soldiers, I know I've met a couple of people tonight that heard about it through Mary Gaucher, the great songwriter, and I played on that album of hers, Rifles and Rosary Beads, and it was during those recording sessions that she said, "Have you ever done this work, Songwriting with Soldiers thing?" And I said, "No, but I'd love to give it a shot." And so next thing I know, I'm flying out to Arizona and walking into a room, not really knowing what I'm supposed to do other than try to write a song in 3 hours with somebody I'm about to meet. And that was 2017. So, but there was a guy there named Duane, and I asked him, you're meeting somebody and writing their name down so you can like write down what they're saying and start writing a song. And I said, how do you spell that? And he goes, I'll spell it the only way you can spell it, Duane. And I said, like Duane Allman, and I don't think he knew what I was talking about. So anyway, I went. But he was like, oh, what's that? Anyway. So Duane, but he had some good lines in the song. We had a nice conversation about gout. Very nice. He didn't get to eat any of the scallops. In fact, they literally told me that they usually have lobster that night. It was very Maine. They said, I heard the word lobster about 40 times, and they said, we usually have lobster tonight, but since it takes so long to write the song, we just have scallops and steak. And I was like, so it's my fault that you're not feeding these guys lobster? Jesus Christ. So I'm going to sing this song that I wrote. My friend Marshall Chapman, she always says, you're never too old to have a happy childhood. And I've decided to sing as much as I can about people and things that I love rather than things that piss me off, because it's too easy to do that. You can do that all day. And it's just not as much fun because the solution for being pissed off is play music or hear music. It takes you away from it for a minute, and it's important. So I'll send you a bill later. Oh, you already paid. Okay. This is called Mud Bottom, and it's proof that you're never too old to have a happy childhood. And I had one, and I'm still having one. So thank you, Lord. Here we go. Thank you, Jimmy Reed, for this riff I stole. Remember that one? You got me running, you got me hiding. Yeah. Old Dog River, run brown, run slow. Down to the Gulf of Mexico. Bottom. Honey, don't it feel so good just to be back home? You got to dive in early before sunrise. It gets too hot by morning time, morning time. Honey, don't it feel so good to be back home? for the cool water down below. Till it get real squishy between your toes. Ooh, ooh, mud bottom. Honey, don't it feel so good just to be back home? Old Dog River run brown and slow. Down to the Gulf of Mexico. Ooh, mud bottom, baby. Honey, don't it feel so good? Honey, don't it feel so good? Honey, don't it feel so good just to be back home? Mud bottom. Thank you. See. So, you can break strings tuning them down as well. So I'm just kind of braced for the break. It's not going to happen, though. So here we go. Here's one that I wrote for my neighbor, Mr. Lee, long ago. Mr. Lee, I met him when he was 91 years old, and he passed at 94. The song was written on the occasion of his 93rd birthday. So it's really a party song. And Mr. Lee had worked at DuPont. There was this, I'm working on this song about where he worked, which was out in Old Hickory Lake outside of Nashville, the original sort of suburb that they built for the workers to work at the factory and live in the little houses on the lake. And I think, pretty sure the lake was just for the runoff from the rayon factory. And it was opened in 1918, so, there was some serious rayon going into that lake. The trout have, like, 6 eyes, and leisure suits. Like, they're born with, like, an Elvis jumpsuit on. And that's how Dacron was invented. Lake water, crappie, and a lot of rayon. It makes Dacron. Mr. Lee worked out there, and he lived to be 94, so who knows? Your DNA is strong, so just drink a lot of rayon water, breathe in air full of rayon particles, and then and drive a 66 white Chevy Impala, and always mow your grass yourself. And you will live to be 94 years old. Maybe. That was his formula. You got to take it into account. He worked in the factory half his life. He got a little white cottage and a sweet-toothed country wife. Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. Well, he never got sick, and he tell me that he never got hurt. He tried to load a truck full of 40-pound bags of dirt. Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. And he says that Jimmy Carter was the last great president. Well, he lets his mind unwind in the evening time. He wonders where the good times went. Say he's been a full-grown man band since back before World War II. Well, he never got bored, he's always had some work to do. Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. All right. He drives the car and he mows the grass. It's a miracle from heaven. He got a 66 Chevy. You should hear it when he give it the gas. And Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. And he says that Jimmy Carter, he was the last great president. He lets his mind unwind in the evening time. He wonders where the good time went. Well, he's a walking, talking history of the 20th century. Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. And Mr. Lee, he turned 93 today. And Mr. Lee, here's a wishing you a mighty, mighty fine birthday. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Here's another person that I love. Loved Mr. Lee. By the end of his life, he would always just tell the same story, but it was a good one. And we'd walk by him with the baby stroller, and he'd admire the baby, ask her name, we'd tell him. And he'd tell us about working at Rayon City at DuPont. And then he was gone, so what a good one he was. Let's see what I got here. I'll do one for another great person that's gone on. This was for a song I wrote for, and after I watched the funeral of John Lewis. He went over the bridge at Selma in that mule-drawn, old-fashioned coffin. It was during 2020, so it was weird, like, you know, just watch stuff on TV or on your computer. My friend Bobby Hall, who's a songwriting, he's like an accountant and a poet. And so he wrote me a note about it, and so we started writing this song. He said he was fording rivers of roses, bound for streets of gold. So we wrote an old-fashioned kind of gospel song for John. So it's if you don't think change has happened, then you ain't walked in his shoes. We got a long way to go, but we've come a long way too. Near about killed in Rock Hill, forgiveness healed his soul. Fording rivers of roses, bound for streets of gold. Brought here against their will with chains not meant to bind. Worked the land and nursed their young and hoped in time they'd find. They had come to love them, it seemed at times in kind, but they were brought here against their will, with ties not meant to bind. Winds of change around his neck seldom seemed to blow. Inspired by a good man's word, he was bound to go. His mama cried as he did leave, thought he'd surely know that winds of change around his neck would seldom seem to blow. Through the years he made his mark, now his race is run. I can hear chaos and dog whistles threaten what's been done. Still love and hope and kindness do stand vigil and stand bold. Fording rivers of roses bound for streets of gold. Fording rivers of roses bound the streets of gold. Okay, well, now let's do another Todd Snider song. Because there'll never be another one like him. And so many things came from knowing Todd. Not that this is the summation of a friendship, but nevertheless, we met, we became friends instantly, and then he asked me to audition for his band. And I went to Memphis, where he lived at the time, and had his first band, the Nervous Wrecks, and it was the bass player and the bass player and the drummer were both named Joe, and so Joe and Todd were waiting for me, and also our friend Seamus, who was running sound and tour manager, and we're all still friends now. And this is 1994, and there was nobody else there. I said, "Who else is auditioning?" And they said, "Nobody." And I said, "Well, do I still need to audition?" And they said, "Well, yeah, we might as well play." So we played through his whole first album, Songs for the Daily Planet, which is a great record. And then we played a bunch of like Jerry Jeff Walker songs and John Prine songs and Jimmy Buffett songs and Bob Dylan songs and Joe Ely songs. And then I said, "Well, what now?" And they said, "Well, do you want to know if you got the gig or not?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "You did." And I said, "Okay." So. And then I said, "What now?" And they said, "We're going to go down to the Daily Planet and play a show." So I played my first show with them that night. And then, there's something about those guys. I say guys, I'm talking about Todd and Buffett, whether you are a fan or not. I have a feeling that most of you are. But, the person that can tell the story and write the song and then deliver it, you can learn to be a better storyteller. I've done that. But you have to be born to be able to do what Jimmy did, especially in his first 20 years of his career, and Todd did in the 30 years of his entire career. So it's a thing you have to be born with, and that's why they're missed so much. I think both of them, and that's why Jimmy took Todd under his wing and signed him to his first record deal. He saw a lot of himself in there, and just wanted to say that because I know people go around telling stories about those guys, and I'm doing it myself. But it just, it's a wonder, It's just a wonder. You know what I'm saying? That somebody can just talk to you from the stage, and they're talking directly to you. And they sing a song, and they're saying, how did they know I thought that? How did they know I felt this way? But I do have a theory about this song. So John Prine's got a song that I'm pretty sure that he patterned based mainly around the way Bob Dylan would sing a consonant. In his younger days, when he wasn't just as growly as he is now, but you got Bob Dylan singing, "Well, ain't no use sit and wonder why, babe, even you don't know by now." He's saying, It ain't no ways, you know, you got to flatten all your syllables, and maybe that's a Minnesota thing. I don't know. None of us know. I've been there. Nobody talks like him or sings like him, so I don't know. Maybe it's about Duluth. I think he was from around there, but who knows? So then John Prine's got this song. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. See what I'm saying? Well, actually, things are just about the same. He's doing the same thing Dylan did with his, you know, with those vowels. I didn't mean to say consonants, vowels from Alabama. I don't know the difference. We can write a novel, but we can't read it. So this is Todd. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. In answer to Bob and Prine, maybe. A little out of place, a little out of tune, kinda lost in space, racing the moon, climbing the walls of a hurricane, still overall, I can't complain. All I wanted was a one chance to let freedom ring. They said I had to get a permit, a bunch of tags and everything. I never made it through the red tape. I got this paper hat. I got a job working weekdays. You want fries with that? I got nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Like a one-way ticket to cruise in that passing lane. I can't complain. And I was talking with my girlfriend. I told her I was stressed. I said, I'm going off the deep end. She said, God, for once, give it a rest. We're all waiting in the dugout, thinking we can pitch. How you gonna throw a shutout when all you do is bitch? You got nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Like a one-way ticket to cruise in that passing lane. Can't complain. And now I got a brand new dance. I need one more shot, one last chance. I can't get caught. I just want one last. This time I can't be bought. But then again, on the other hand, how much have you got? I got nothing to lose. Well, there's nothing to gain. It's like a one-way ticket cruising that passing lane. Can't complain. A little out of place, a little out of tune, kinda lost in space, racing that moon, climbing the walls, but this a hurricane, still overall, I can't complain. Still overall, can't complain. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. It's a trip doing I've been doing it a lot lately, going and doing writing a song with the veterans and the firemen and stuff, and then getting up the next day and recording it and performing it and talking about it, and then traveling to a city and playing a show. And I think I've learned to take a nap after I wake up in the morning. And then I took a nap in Augusta, Maine at the wonderful Comfort Inn they have there. Where the first time I ever stayed there, it was in the autumn, and maybe they had one snow, but not a big one. And I looked in the back, and there's an old red pickup truck with a snowplow on it. And there was no cars in the parking lot but my rental car. And there was a lady in I swear to God, black and red checkered big flannel shirt, wool shirt, looking at it just like. And then she got on her phone and talked for a while, and then she looked at it some more, and then she got down on one knee and just started taking the snowplow off the front. And she took off one side and the next side. And then she moved the pickup a couple of places over in the parking lot. And then another guy came, and he had one of those same kind of shirts on. And he looked at the truck for a while, and he looked at her and kind of said a couple of things, and she was like, and then they both smoked a cigarette, and then he drove off in the truck. Because I was inside a hotel room watching it. And it was like, you could script it, but I don't think that anybody said a word except a couple of words on the phone, like, how do we get the snowplow off? And somebody said, well, you got to undo the blah, 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 and the thumb screws on the blah. I don't know how you could get it off without any tools. Anyway. But I'll do. First song I ever wrote with Todd, and this was in 1995, summer of 95, Corpus Christi, Texas. And this is just one of those, working man songs, like, drink a little beer in the tavern, play a little bit of them working man blues. Because we had been hanging out at Moondog's Tavern. I don't know if you guys know that one, but, have to sing at least the chorus of it. Moondog's Tavern, that's where I'm going to go. Moondog's Tavern, well, that's the only place I know. Moondog's got everything I'm ever gonna need. Moondog's Tavern in Fraser, Tennessee. And you gotta sing the verse now. Sit down and he'll tell you about the friends he made, about the nights that he walked the line, and all of the mornings that he paid. He got thrown out of so many bars, he finally built one in his own backyard. Ain't been thrown out once so far, and his tab is always paid. And that's the only verse of that song. It's all you need to know. Moondog's Tavern in Fraser, Tennessee. But we were in Corpus Christi, and we were just kind of thinking along those same lines. And a day off on a tour that was grueling. We thought touring was just going to be a big party, and it was. But then at some point, you got to drive, And we had a van and a trailer, and we were opening for a big act with a bus, and we realized then it's like, oh, the bus has a bus driver. And while the band is playing the concert, the bus driver is at the hotel sleeping. And after the band plays the concert and has a big party on their bus after the show, then the bus driver gets up and gets a cab back to the venue and drives them to the next town. Whereas we opened the show, had a big party, and had to drive to the hotel and then get up 3 hours later and drive to the next show. And whatever, it's the job. There's a lake on the west side of the Mississippi River by Memphis, over West Memphis, Arkansas, which is just one big truck stop now. It used to be the Vice place. Like if you couldn't get it in Memphis, they'd do it for you in West Memphis, Arkansas. It won't work this morning. I can't punch in. There's too many questions under my skin. My back is aching. I'm so confused. I can't help but feeling just like I've been being used. I did like they told me, and I settled down. Now I'm going crazy. I've been working downtown. What do I do here? Why do I stay? Who are all these people I check in with every day? I need room to think this over. I need a ride to Horseshoe Lake. I want to feel like it makes a difference. Oh, a difference that one man make. They say that one man makes some money. I heard that somebody made some time. I need some time to think this over. I want to make up my own mind. I don't need a psychic. I don't need a shrink. I need some time away from all this. I could use a drink. How did I get here? Where will I go? Why am I so haunted by everything that I don't know? I need a room to think this over. I need a ride out to Horseshoe Lake. I want to feel like it makes a little difference. Oh, a difference that one man made. They say that one man makes some money. One man makes some time. I need some time to think this over. I want to make up my own mind. I need some time to think this over. I want to make up my own mind. I want to make up my own mind. See, probably way beyond my 45-minute set, but I'll just do a couple things for you. So I met this guy, Jimmy Buffett, at Tipitina's in New Orleans. I'd shook his hand once before at like a recording studio listening party, and he was the head of the record label, Margaritaville Records. That was his company, as you can imagine. And shook his hand, but at Tipitina's, it's about the size of this place, really. You know, maybe a little bit bigger, but not much bigger. And the stage is about the same size, maybe a little bit higher, but not much higher. And the backstage is way smaller than that backstage. Backstage is like a broom closet with one of those mop buckets and a mop in it that smells like mildew, like in elementary school. Go get me that mop bucket. You know, it's like, oh, geez, you're killing me. But so I went back there, and that night we played. Todd Snyder and the Nervous Rex played, and Jerry Jeff Walker and Jimmy Buffett showed up, and they walked in, the crowd parted, they got up on stage, and we played together. It was really fun. Everybody went crazy, and everybody went backstage to that room, and it was so crowded, and there was no beer or anything back there. There was no party going on, just people crammed into a tiny space. And then everybody wanted to get out, and so I looked towards the door, and then right there was Buffett. And I said, well, Jimmy, I'm Will. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I know you went to high school there. And he was like, you must be another escapee. I said, I guess so, you know. And that was it. And then 5 years later, he called me and said, I would like to hear some songs. And I never did think to ask, why are you calling me? Because why would you do that, right? You just go, sure, I'll send you some songs all day. And that was 2003. And for the next 20 years, every time he wrote songs, he would call me and ask me for songs and write with me. It was an amazing thing. I don't know why. I never asked him why, because I didn't want him to, you know, go, why? Get out of here. I don't know, you know. I mean, I guess somebody must just like your songs. I don't know how that happened. So, but this is the first one he ever recorded of mine. I wrote this in the bathroom at the NICU, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at Baptist Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. Had two daughters, still have them, thank God, and they're 30 and 24 now, and they were both born early and small, and so they both went in the NICU. And so the NICU is like a holy place for us. And if you know a NICU nurse, or if you are one, or if you know a NICU doctor, although I will say, the NICU nurses are much just, they can tell you this, the doctor, you ask the doctor a hard question and they're like, and they take like a clipboard and walk away, and the nurse will be like, it's okay. It's normal. What he just said, it's normal for little babies. He just doesn't know how to talk to people. So, the NICU nurses are like angels that walk the earth, not least because they keep you from killing the doctor. I got a whole story about that, but I won't take up all my time with that. So I wrote these lyrics in the bathroom on a piece of paper towel and stuffed them in my pocket. Luckily, I didn't wash those jeans. And I wrote it silently, of course. I was in a hospital. I wasn't in it back there going like, time to nurse. You know, all the jaundice babies say, yeah. So, because little babies have jaundice, you know, they all get it. So, anyway. So I wrote this in there, and Buffett liked it, and I wonder if, because it says "Good God Almighty," because he says that in a couple of his songs, and that's probably a real Alabama, Mississippi thing. My dad used to say it all the time. You know, it's like, but anyway, here's my song. I'm a piece of work, I'm iron and lace, shy right up there in your face. All dumbfounded, stubborn as an ass, sharp as an arrow in a pile of glass. Sweetheart, genius, reckless jerk, and Lord have mercy, what a piece of work. Well, the Lord made me on a long thin limb, made sure I'd remember him. Her in the middle of a long dark night, creation crazy, death sheet white and made in the image of a lion-shock lamb. I am who the hell I am, ever better, bad to worse, down to the letter, I'm a piece of work. I'm a piece of work, I'm an angel's fiend, bathed in lavender and gasoline. Scared, brave, shallow in an ink black whale, lightly browned in the fires of hell, and wicked, holy, full-on fake, best known for my big mistake. I'm zen, wise, peaceful, gone berserk. It's a good God Almighty, what a piece of work. I'm a dreadful sight, I just don't care. Spent all morning pulling out my hair, woke at dawn with a crazy spin, half the day trying to glue back in, and Mother Bloody Mary, please wipe that smile off your knees. I'm the CEO of the mailroom clerk. Say, good God Almighty, a piece of work. I said, I'm a lovesick boy, cough cap, caviar, and corduroy all over the map, but just a lost in space. Filthy mind and a choir boy's face, and heels every head down straight on through. Watch out, woman, I'm gonna get to you. I'm a gladiator with a minder. Come on, I'll see you a little later. I'm a piece of work. I'm a piece of work. A piece of work. Two more, and then take a break. So, but that's okay. So, take a little short break, and after these two songs. So, this is a song I wrote with my friend Tommy Womack, who is a Cumberland Presbyterian preacher's kid from Western Kentucky. So he grew up in a church full of coal miners singing like "Near My God to Thee." If you can imagine the singing voices of those Western Kentucky coal miners. He said it was like 45 Tom Waits were in there with you. And you're like 5 years old, and your mom's out there playing the little spinet piano as loud as she can. If you've ever met Tommy, you can understand why he's got that twitch. It's a flinch. They're about to sing, whatever. But we made this up. We tried to write a song for our parents, and his parents were son and daughter of Depression-era tobacco pickers from Western Kentucky, and he made good by becoming a Cumberland Presbyterian preacher. And But my parents were from lower Alabama, southwest Alabama, L.A., and but what we came up with was the common denominator was that they were nobody from nowhere. And we both felt that. We had both kind of been all over the world singing songs, and then when you tell somebody where you're from, it would be only like a record collector from England would know. You'd be like, well, I'm from Mobile. They're like, well, that's the home of Blind Willie Fletcher. I have several of his 78s in my collection. And you're like, yeah. That's the whole reason I'm out here. Or Western Kentucky, I'm sure there'll be some bluegrass nut who knows something about it. But anyway, this is called Nobody from Nowhere, and I love that it says hello to the world, but also that I'm okay to go back home, And so I just like that about this tune. And I like to play it this way, this kind of, because it reminds me of the intro of the Allman Brothers, Jessica or whatever, all that. But except not with that. Well, I'm nobody from nowhere you would have ever heard of anyway. Ain't no city way down there could have heard a pin drop any time of day. I'm not sorry and I'm not sad. Might take a whole day just to drive out here and visit. Not too worried, it's not too bad. Nothing much to do, that's not such a hardship, really, is it? When you're waiting for a car to drive by just so you can wave hello, hello, hello. Staring at a starry night sky, dreaming of some place to go, to go. Until that day comes, I'll be here, alone without a care. Nobody from nowhere. This is one of the songs that Buffett cut as well. And when I sent him a little recording of it, I think like an iPhone recording of it or whatever, he was writing one of his books and he was traveling the back way through southeast Alabama, going from Mobile to Auburn, where he went to college for like a week in 1967. And he said, I'm nobody from nowhere. I'm going to record that song. And then he said something that reminded me of like Dean Martin or something. He said, tell your wife to order some new living room furniture. I'm nobody from nowhere you would have ever heard of anyhow. Ain't no reason that you should care. Well, there's a P.O. box and a four-way stop. There's farms and fields and cows, and we're just waiting for a car to drive by, just so you can wave hello, hello, hello. Staring at a starry night sky, dreaming of some place to go, to go, to go. Till that day comes, I'll be here, alone without a care. Nobody from nowhere. For a car to drive by, just so you can wave hello, hello, hello. Staring at a starry night sky, you've been dreaming of some place that you got to go, to go. Till that day comes, I'll be here, nobody cares. Nobody, nobody from nowhere. Nobody, nobody from nowhere. For a car to drive by just so you can wave hello, 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 hello. So that went on and on. I tell you, like I said, I met Jimmy really because I was with Todd, and they had a falling out in the mid-'90s, and because Jimmy wanted to give people advice that he had learned along the way, you know, maybe like, don't make the mistake I made, like, and you're like, what mistake did you make? So, the mustache looked cool, you know? But he just wanted a young artist that had a chance to you know, not make mistakes that he thought maybe he made. I don't know, but we were out on tour opening for Jimmy, and Todd didn't want to play his big songs at the time. All Right Guy, Talking Seattle Grunge Rock Blues, which were all over the radio in all the cities. And so Jimmy took him backstage. And remember, Jimmy's the president of the record label that's invested heavily. So Jimmy's like, why don't you play those songs? Do you look at my set list any night and I don't play Margaritaville? You think there's occasionally a night when I'm like, I don't really want to play Margaritaville, but I'm going to play it because there's 20,000 people that want to hear it. And Todd was like, fuck you, man. I'm not playing songs just because you told me. And then Jimmy was like, well, you little shit, you know. And they just had this falling out. And I swear, when I started working with Jimmy, once a year, he would say, not that we hung out all the time, but when we were working on songs or something, you know, he'd say, you still talk to Todd? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, all the time. And he'd say, well, tell him I said hey. And I said, well, you want me to give you his number? Because you could just call him. And he's like, oh, no, man, just tell him I said hey. And I go, okay. And then I'd talk to Todd, and I'd say, you know, Buffett said hey. And he goes, oh, man, well, tell him I said hey. And then and I said, well, I could give you his number. And he'd be like, no, man, it's cool. I just tell him I said hey. And that went on for 20 years. So they must have really loved, that sounds like people that really love each other and just don't want to have that, don't know how to start the conversation back, you know. So anyway, but this is something that happened in, around Christmas. I was talking to you about it earlier, about how we had a conversation about, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, about this song, because this song always makes people cry. So spoiler alert, you know. I said it's interesting because this song is not a sad song at all. It's just sad in context. But that's what happens with songs, right? You know, you got the most happy couple in the world, and their song is like the most sad-ass Adele song. You know, because they were sad when they met each other, and now they're happy, and so their song represents, you know, what they got away from. So they'll be listening to the Adele song and like smiling at each other, and you're just like, okay. So anyway, so we wrote this kind of over the phone, and Buffett was great at writing over the phone, because he was the person that would say, let me work on this verse, and like 7 minutes later he'd call you back and go, I just texted you the verse, you know. And he was real into it, and if he liked something, he was all in. And I'll tell you one more thing. When I sent him a working version of this song that I started without him, and then he got to listen to it, he said, I love it. I can't wait to work on the lyrics. I'm saving the other two ideas you sent me, like pralines on my pillow, for dessert. And I can tell you right now, no songwriters that you write with ever do that. Not in Nashville, New York, L.A. They're always like, they want to have like, that they know, you know, they know what to do next. You know, so they're like, Yeah, it's not the right key for your voice, but the rhymes need some work, and the bridge is, not there. I'm not all the way there yet, But Buffett was like, it's like a dessert item for me. Thank you, It was just a difference in personality, anyway, this I'll just say this one comes from the Navy diving course, where if you do the final test in your full scuba kit, heavy ass weights around your waist and everything in the tank, and they drop you from a helicopter into the open ocean, they have been preaching you the whole time, bubbles up, follow the bubbles up to the surface. You may tumble down into the water way deeper than you think, and you may not know which way is up. It won't matter as much today because you're with a bunch of people and instructors, and we'll get you out of the water. But if you're in a plane crash, or if you were shot down, or if you're in a boat that sunk, you might not know which way the surface is, and it might save your life to follow the bubbles up. So Jimmy said, I want to write a song called Bubbles Up that is a song of comfort to somebody who's struggling. And again, I never asked him, I said, who are you singing this for? I just said, okay. And I had just gotten back from one of those Songwriting with Soldiers trips. So my mind was just all into just listening to somebody else and just waiting for the idea to come. And then I had a record player in that room. And if you have a record player and you actually deserve to own the thing, you've got a pile of records next to it. I had a little pile of records, and on top of it was this old beat up copy where he's on that boat, and it says "Living and Dying in 3/4 Time." And I just started playing in 3/4 time, which is the waltz. And I started looking at the little email he sent me with a couple of lines, and I just sang it into my phone, and that was the version that we started with. So, and then we recorded it in the studio without him there because he was doing chemo in Houston. So the guy woke up in Nashville, flew to Houston, did chemotherapy, flew back to Nashville, and walked in the studio right before noon, and just lit up the place. Looked like he had been sleeping and having a massage or something, instead of flying to Houston, doing chemo, and flying back. And we played him the song, and he loved it, and he sang it beautifully. And the producer, the great Mac McAnally, actually had him sing it again. So the final version is the one that, Mac went to Jimmy in the summer of 23 when Jimmy was not doing so well and said, man, I think you could sing this better. And he really did. And that's the version that, I'm dropping a name again, but it happened the day Jimmy died. The first thing I saw was this social media post from Paul McCartney saying, I got to be friends with Jimmy Buffett in his later days, and went over to his house one night when he was in hospice and sang songs to him all night, which is amazing to think about. And then he played me this song, Bubbles Up, and the vocal was just so beautiful. So crazy. It goes like this, so here we go. So listen to the words. This song made Jimmy smile real big. So when this world starts reeling from that pressure drop feeling, just treading water these days, there's a way to feel better, be well set to weather the storms till the sun shines again. When your compass is spinning and you're lost on the way, like a leaf in the wind, friend. And me when I say bubbles up, they will point you toward home. No matter how deep, how far you roam, they will show you the surface, the plot, and the purpose. So when the journey gets long, just know that you are loved. There is light up above, and the joy is always enough. Bubbles up. To my friends who are jolly when melancholy knocks, sometimes they let her in. Well, they sit and share stories of flops and of glories. It ain't half as bad as the bends. Sometimes living is a struggle, multiplied double, but they love it too much for the party to end. Bubbles up, they will point you toward home. No matter how deep and how far you roam, they will show you the surface, the plot, and the purpose. So when the journey gets long, just know that you are loved. There is light up above, and the joy is always enough. Bubbles up. Let's pop a cork to the rough and the right, to the bright blazing day and the sweet starry night. Bubbles up, they will point us toward home. No matter how deep and how far we roam, they will show you the surface, the plot, and the purpose. So when the journey gets long, just know that you are loved. There is light up above, and the joy is always enough. Bubbles up. Bubbles up. There we go. We'll take a little break, and got another set to go if you want to stick with me. And thank you guys so much. It's great to be at the Fallout Shelter. And yeah, man.
I hear you talking in your sleep. Now you've got my full attention. My suspicion is running deep. Someone I thought I heard you mention. Hey. Freaking. I hear you talking in your sleep. Had no idea you were hurting. Was it something about you and me? Till you awake, I can't be certain. I'll just wait until after all your sleep talking is done. I don't need a wake-up call. I'll be here to greet the sun, 'cause you're in the pen. said I was bona fide. To tell you the truth, baby, I lied. I told you I had cash to burn. Said money was not a big concern. I know I said I had nothing to hide. To tell you the truth, baby, I lied. To tell you the truth, I'm a blue-collar guy, but my exaggerations, yeah, they're justified. Mostly 'cause I get so tongue-tied around you. What can I do? I said my hot tub seated 10, that I flew to Paris now and then. I know I said I was board certified. To tell you the truth, baby, I lied. To tell you the truth, I'm a blue-collar guy, but my exaggerations are justified. Mostly 'cause I get so tongue-tied around you. What can I do?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please find your seats, the show will be resuming shortly. If you could please find your seats, the show will be resuming shortly. Thank you.
Tell you the truth, I'm a blue-collar guy, but my exaggerations are justified. Mostly 'cause I get so tongue-tied. Tell you the truth, I'm a blue-collar guy, but my exaggerations are justified. Mostly 'cause I get so tongue-tied around you. What can I do? What can I do? Can't keep my head up off the water. Can't keep the wolf from my door. Always thought that I was middle class.
Welcome back. All right. Three angels wake me up each morning, tugging at my sleeve. Three angels see me off to bed each night. I never did believe until I saw them for myself. They don't have wings and halos, and they don't dress in white. They don't have wings and halos, and they don't dress in white. From the tallest to the smallest to the one who's in between, Lord, they're beautiful and they're funny in their way. One's a woman, one's a little girl, and one's almost a teen, and they get smarter than me each and every day. They get smarter than me each and every day. Everyone has angels looking over them. There was a time when I just could not see. Now I know the truth is I'm a lucky man indeed. Everybody has an angel, I've got three. Three angels looking over me. Three angels make me smile. Three angels shine so bright to see. Three angels hot and sassy, meek and mild. I go out into the world, and they always see me back home safe and sound. Sometimes in the morning they're a moody band of angels. Still it's good to have my angels hanging around. You know it's good to have my angels hanging around. Everyone has angels looking over them. There was a time when I did not believe. Now I know the truth is I'm a lucky man indeed. Everybody has an angel, I got three angels looking over me. Three angels, they make me smile. Three angels shine so doggone bright to see. Three angels hot and sassy, meek and mild. Three angels looking over me. Oh, they make me smile. Three angels shine so bright to see. Three angels hot and sassy, meek and mild and bold and brassy. My three angels make me glad to be alive. Hey, thank you. I wrote that song because I had my little guitar riff written, and it had this flatted fifth in it. You know the tritone. The Pope back about 300 years ago used to call that the devil's note, the tritone, and it is in like Led Zeppelin songs and stuff. And like King Crimson song, they got a lot of tritone, Black Sabbath. So maybe it is the devil's note, but man, it's a good one though. I like it. So, all right. I'm going to do the first song I ever wrote with Buffett. I had written that song, Piece of Work, and he put it on a record called License to Chill. I didn't know he was a Beastie Boys fan. And got to play on that record and, you know, had a blast. And I kept sending him songs after that. I was like, hey, do you want to record some more of my songs? And, you know, and he was like, yeah, I'm on tour right now. Get back with me later, you know, and or no answer at all. How about that? And finally he reached out to me and said, let's get together and write. And I said, well, where do you want to do that? And he said, how about St. Bart? And I was like, okay, you know. So we went to St. Bart in like February, you know, it's the high season. And the first person that we met, besides Jimmy freaking Buffett, was Roger Waters of Pink Floyd. You know, not Roger Waters Pontiac, you know, over in Worcester, but that guy, we're eating lunch during one of our songwriting days, and this guy that looks exactly like Roger Waters walks up, and he's like, Jimmy, hello, you know, and Jimmy's like, hey, Roger, what's going on? And we're like, good God, what is going on here? And he sits down and immediately tells the joke about, you know, a pig that good you don't eat all at once. You know that joke? I'll tell it to you. You do? Okay, well, good. You can tell it later. But he told a joke, so anyway. And we made up this song on that trip. Roger did not join us. But he was very funny guy, you know. He would answer questions about Pink Floyd. I didn't ask him any, but he answered a couple. And I got to tell you this. So at the end of lunch, he said to Jimmy, would it be okay if I joined you guys for dinner tonight? And Jimmy was like, sure, we're going to have sushi on the dock. And so we go back to writing songs, we work on them, and then we go to this sushi place on the dock at St. Bart. So, you know, it's amazing. And best French sushi in the Caribbean. And anyway, we're going to sit in with the band because, you know, Jimmy is not going to go anywhere without making an appearance. And he loved to get out in front of people, so he's like, let's sit in with the band. And so he leans over to Roger Waters and goes, come on, get up there and jam with us. And Roger goes, oh, I'm good, you know. But what happened that was interesting for me was I'm sitting at the end of the table with my little sushi roll and my little beer, and then there's an empty seat next to me, and Roger gets there last, and he sits right next to me, and there's nobody else at the end of the table but me and him. And so I'm kind of like, hey, how's it going, Roger, you know? You have a good day at the beach today? You know, and he's like, yeah, it was great day. It's always great to be here in the wintertime, get out of the cold, you know. And then we got up and played, and we played the song Piece of Work, and I sat back down, and he goes, that was fun, that was cool. And he goes, did you write that song? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, you know, cool. And then he said, do you know Neil Young? And I said, no, but I know of him. I said, but I bet you know him. And he goes, well, actually, and then he told me this whole story about playing one of Neil's benefit shows, and it was the first time he had ever played outside of Pink Floyd, and he had never played a show not as a member of Pink Floyd. He had quit the band, and he hadn't done anything, and so he was nervous. And he thought people wouldn't like it, and he got out there and played, and they loved it, and it just really sparked him to go on and have his solo career, and he loved it. But he also said, but have you ever heard Neil Young's album, Rust Never Sleeps? And I said, oh, yeah, I love that record. One side's acoustic, one side's electric. Hey, my, you know, he was like, that is my favorite record of all time. And I said, wow, that's a good one, you know. And I said, so did you get to hang out with Neil and tell him all that stuff? And he goes, well, actually, no. He said, I played, I had a great time. I wanted to thank Neil, and I wanted to tell him that Rust Never Sleeps is my favorite record of all time. So I went up to his dressing room door and knocked, you know, and there's a big biker guy that opens the door and goes, Neil ain't seeing anybody, and slams the door. And then Roger said, but it's Roger. He goes, I don't care if you're Albert Einstein. He ain't seeing anybody. And so he sat outside Neil Young's dressing room all night on a little folding chair and never got to talk to him. So I always think about that when I see a famous person that I might, you know, want to meet. And I'm always like, should I do it? Or should I not? Anyway. Jimmy and I wrote this song on that trip. I started it as a little song of encouragement for my kids. And then Jimmy liked it, so we messed with it. And I played harmonica. I may be the only person that ever played harmonica on a Jimmy Buffett record besides the late and very great Fingers Taylor. So anyway, I'm not good at it. Just don't clap for me. But it's called Wings. I've been up around the stratosphere, 31,000 feet. I'm gonna fly on out of here on wings that you can't see. If you ever gonna fly without fear, you're gonna have to learn to love the atmosphere, and you gotta learn to use those wings that you can't see. I've been skiing on the mountains of the moon all weekend long. I've been looking out for life on Mars and singing my favorite songs. And all these things could be yours too if you just take another point of view. Everybody got a pair of wings that they can't see. I've got wings that you can't see. I have wheels on my feet. Way up high, I feel so free on these wings that you can't see. I don't need no plane ride, I don't need no airport line. I can hang around at treetop flyer level all day long. And now I'm looking down on tiny cars, tiny swimmers swimming around pools and yards, all on account of these wings you can't see. I've got wings that you can't see. I have wheels on my feet. Way up high, I feel so free on these wings that you can't see. Well, now maybe if you're trying to open up your mind, you might learn some things, yeah. God only knows what you might find floating on those wings. Hey, you can try to fly away from all your problems. I'm here to say it ain't the way to solve them. I can only help you with the wings that you can't see. I've got wings that you can't see. I have wheels on my feet. Way up high, I feel so free on these wings you can't see. You got wings that you can't see. Silver wings, just like me. Way up high, I feel so free. Well, if you come on, take a little taste of freedom. High up in a cloudland kingdom, take a little trip on the wings. Take a little trip on the wings. Take a little trip on the wings that you can't see. Let's see here. Now, there's a piano player in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, named Spooner Oldham. And he's, in like the Songwriter Hall of Fame. He's probably in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was one of the swampers that made Muscle Shoals so famous for being a studio for rhythm and blues in the 1960s. And, stuff like When a Man Loves a Woman and Starting All Over Again. Remember that one? Starting all over again is gonna be rough, so rough. But we gonna make it. Country soul. It's really cool. That was Mel and Tim, one of my favorite band names of all time. And they did I'm Your Puppet. That was James and Bobby Purify, which is just another great name. Where do you get the last name Purify? In the present tense, purify. So Spooner was on all those records and helped write some of those songs, and he's credited as the guy who kind of put Aretha Franklin at ease. She went down from Detroit to Muscle Shoals in 1966, and I'm sure she was like, am I being punished, Sending me to North Alabama in 1966 to do what? And then she met those guys, and Spooner, she was doing this song called I Never Loved a Man the Way That I Love You, and they weren't getting it. She wasn't feeling relaxed, and then Spooner started doing those gospel chords, it's like, And she just was like, and the world became a better place. You know, I mean, think about the world without Aretha Franklin singing "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," or Aretha Franklin singing "Respect," or Aretha singing Spanish Harlem, you know, on and on. So anyway, thank you, Spooner Oldham. And I was working with him in the studio because we were in Muscle Shoals working, and we were thinking, man, if this song just had like keyboard part like Spooner would play. And the engineer was this old Alabama guy, and he goes, well, we can call him if you want. And I said, oh, we probably can't afford him for this project. And he goes, I bet you could. And I said, well, then let's call him. He goes, I already texted him. He's on his way. And so Spooner came in, and he's got one of those Wurlitzer electric pianos like Ray Charles played on What I Say. You know, tell me what I say. And he's got one of those old ones, and it's got these chrome legs you screw in. And so he's got the legs in a Glad black garbage bag. And he's got the thing under his arm. He's like 75 years old. He looks like Ichabod Crane. He's like this tall, weighs about 100 pounds. And he's just the nicest, kindest, calmest man you've ever met in your life. He walks in carrying this heavy thing. He's like, well, where do you want me to put this thing? And then, the guy says, well, put it where you always put it over there, Spooner, under that giant 10-foot portrait of Aretha. And he's like, oh, all right. And he puts it down. And then he just starts doing those cool little... It's just like we're at church, and my soul has just been saved, and I just fell in love with the most beautiful girl, on the 1965 country high school cheerleading team. I'm going to dance and wear a turtleneck, which to me is a good feeling. So it might not be to you, but it is to me. That's just kind of my idea of a good time. So anyway, Spooner. So I wrote this music thinking I'm going to write this country soul song as a tribute to Spooner, but then I realized a country soul song cannot be about like some guy you admire as a musician. It has to be a love song to a significant other. So anyway, I wrote these lyrics for my wife, and in fact, my wife's cousin is here tonight, and I've got cousins here, so it's like family night here at the Fallout Shelter. Now that's a good album title, Family Night at the Fallout Shelter. My uncle Hubert Kimbrough had a one of those bomb shelters in his backyard, and when I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was go in there. And he was my cousin, but he was like 90 years old when I was like 10. Somehow he was my cousin Hubert. And I finally got to go over there with my dad, and all I wanted to do was go in the fallout shelter, but he was just using it for all his like old hoarder junk. And he didn't want anybody to see it. He just wanted to keep his hoarder junk, but he didn't want his little 10-year-old cousin to see it, so I never got to go in there. But it had the little pipe coming out of the ground. Like, when the nuclear bomb goes off, we'll have that good air coming in. And all those cans of, Van Camp pork and beans that we saved, we're just going to live forever down there. It's going to be great. Family night at the fallout shelters. So this is called Soulfully. I would like it if you'd sing on the chorus. All you have to do is sing the word soulfully, like soulfully, just like that, but more soulful. Smiles and laughter, soulfully. Words so kind, soulfully. Here ever after, soulfully. Say that you'll be mine. Y'all sound good. This is called Soulfully. And this is one Buffett recorded. I recorded it too, but Mike Utley played a great organ solo, and it turns out he also had played on an Aretha Franklin record when he was about 23 years old. In 1972, won the Grammy for Record of the Year. Spirit in the Dark, Aretha Franklin, Mike Utley, Mr. Utley played on there. So I said, how about Mr. Utley plays an organ solo on my song? And they said, okay. So next time you hear that, remember that Mike Utley, he's beautiful, another beautiful keyboard player. So this is for Spooner and Utley and anybody else who plays the damn keyboards in here, so whatever. You give me all you got, and that's a lot. I understand I am a lucky man. Have you in my life, I feel so free, soulfully. And I know you can be tough, but just enough for you're tender too. No just what to do to give me what I need. Soulfully, soulfully, smiles and laughter, words so kind. Here ever after, say that you'll be mine. You know that I send up a prayer, send it way up there. A little prayer of gratitude. I got to give my thanks for you and all the love you bring. Yes, you do. You bring it to me soulfully. I want you to help me out soulfully. Smiles and laughter, words so kind. Here ever after, say that you'll be mine. Be alone, 'cause I'm at home when I'm wrapped up in your arms and all your loving charms. Your kisses sweet you give to me soulfully. And the choir started singing, they said soulfully, smiles and laughter, words so kind, yeah. Here ever after, say that you'll be mine. Every little thing the poor boy needs. I got a feeling deep inside. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, there we go. Thank you so much. You know, that Beatles song is really in a higher key, so McCartney sings that real high. It's really not like way out of my league, you know, it's like. I got a feeling deep inside, oh yeah. And I love that, oh yeah, oh yeah. McCartney. You know, somebody was talking about how they watched that documentary that was like 9 hours long, and they were saying, McCartney's just so annoying. He's just always right, and he's always good at it. And I was like, what's so fucking annoying about that? You want to have him in your band playing bass? Will you not have... not that McCartney guy. Can't... He's too good. So. All right, this is one of my favorite songs that I wrote with Buffett, and I'll tell you, if I can pull it off and not talk for too long about it, it was one of the songs that I sketched out the day that we started Bubbles Up, and it was one of the ones that he said, I'll save it like a praline under my pillow for dessert, which was a really sweet thing to say about a song that you would just send him a song, like an iPhone recording of something you made up. And so anyway, we finished the song and we recorded it for the album, and it was the same day that Buffett went and did chemo and came back and listened to Bubbles Up and said, I like it, I'm going to sing it, you know, it's great. And everybody was happy. And I have to say, now thinking about it, I was kind of grateful that he wasn't there when we recorded the musical track, because I was with some folks that had been playing with him for 30, 40, 50 years, and they could kind of let their guard down. Because when Jimmy was with you, he wanted to entertain you. He wanted to entertain everybody in the room at all times. So if he had been there when we were recording the music for Bubbles Up, he might have been joking around or trying to get everybody to smile, when in fact everybody was kind of having this moment about him and what his health was doing at that time, and it was really powerful. And so I think we got to do something like almost have a little moment for him, and then he came in and sang it, you know. But the same day before he got there, we recorded this track. It's called The University of Bourbon Street, and it's a story song about Jimmy living in New Orleans in about 1967 when he dropped out of Auburn and University, and then he went and played in his first rock and roll band on Bourbon Street and played in a cover band on Bourbon Street, and he loved it. He fell in love with being in a rock and roll band because before that he wanted to be a folk singer. Believe it or not, he wanted to be like Gordon Lightfoot. Can you imagine Jimmy out there, you know? The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down, you know. Great song, but you know, it's not really Jimmy Buffett. So anyway, he's told me the whole story, and so I made up a version of it. And I mean, I got to be honest, part of why he wanted me around because I knew like 7 guitar chords and he only knew 4. And he would be like, write something with more of those chords in it and then send it to me and I'll work on the lyrics. And that's literally what he would say. So, which was amazing, you know, that the self-knowledge involved to be able to say that. Self-awareness, is that the right word? Yes. Thank you. Okay, anyway, so he listened to the track we recorded without him there, and he was smiling and tapping his foot and happy, and he's like, man, that is really good. That's perfect. It's perfect. Bubbles Up is perfect. This is perfect. And he looked at me and goes, but there's one thing. And I said, what? And he goes, the lyrics need work. And I said, okay. When do you want to do that? He goes, now. And I said, okay. So everybody's waiting around in the studio. We go upstairs to a little office, and I have the lyrics, and I say, where do you want to start? And he goes, first line. So we rewrote the first line, and then it didn't rhyme with the next line, so we had to rewrite the second line. We just went all the way down the page, rewrote the entire lyric in like 45 minutes. And it's a lot. You'll hear in a second. It's a lot of words. And then he called McAnally up, and they worked on the lyrics, I think, to the song Equal Strain on All Parts. And so this is a guy, he woke up in Nashville, flew to Houston, did chemo, flew back, listened to a couple of songs, rewrote the lyrics to 2 songs, and then sang Bubbles Up and sang the University of Bourbon Street. And then we went and got some sandwiches. I mean, there's a reason that people like that do so well. They have more energy and imagination than we do. So, but I hung with him. I was like, what about the 4th line? He was like, yeah, we're rewriting that too, you know. So, and but the song was also, when we finished the new lyric, I knew the song was like 8 seconds shorter than it is on the recorded version we had just done. And so instead of like walking downstairs with him like, we rewrote the lyrics, man, yeah, you know, I just turned around and said, are we done? He goes, yeah, and I stood up and walked out of the room and walked down the steps without saying anything, and I wonder if he thought I really had to pee or if I'm just an asshole, you know, or so. But I needed to make an edit in the track, and so I needed to cut out like 8 seconds. I knew exactly where to do it. So the engineer's down there, professional Grammy-winning engineer, and I'm like, get up, I need to make an edit. And he's like, I'll do it. And I was like, no, we need to do it before Jimmy walks down the steps because he's going to say, I'm ready to sing it, and we don't want to make him wait. And so he goes, okay. So I made the edit and hit save, and then sure enough, Jimmy heard the voice behind me. He's like, I'm ready to sing this thing. Put it in record, you know. And it was a great moment, so I just want to say a lot was going on there. So, and there's a little musical solo in this that on the record was played by the Preservation Hall Jazz Band from New Orleans. And we got to play it with them at Jazz Fest in 24 twice, once at the Jazz Fest and once at Pres Hall. And so when we do the solo part of this, I want y'all to think about your inner, you know, New Orleans 1925 jazz musician. You know, your Louis Armstrong or Papa Celestine or whoever you're going to be, and just sing it out, you know, like, right? We're going to do that all together, the world's largest Dixieland band. But first, I guess the point of going to college was to acquire myself a little knowledge and help me figure out what life was really all about. It made Pete and J.D. happy, set me wild and free. I danced out of Mississippi to the University of Bourbon Street. I sang a hey, hey, hockey way on a streetcar headed uptown. I went to class every day, and I never wore a frown. I was taught by the Neville brothers, Benny Spellman, and a whole lot of others. That brass band blew my mind. When I joined in the second line, I felt the power of the Gree-Gree. Got my soul saved by the backbeat. I was branded by Jean Lafitte at the University of Bourbon Street. I sang on a paddle wheel boat. Well, I floated down the Mississippi. I helped to build a Mardi Gras float. I smoked a joint with a beautiful hippie. I heard the church choir sing, changed my guitar strings. I thought things just could not get better. And then I walked down to Central Grocery and I had myself a muffaletta. I took my lunchbox to the streetcar, that old Tennessee name, Desire. I just followed my dancing feet to the University of Bourbon Street. And the band started playing. Pat O'Brien's hurricane accreditation, old school sex education, and I learned how to eat. From the music and the people to the cooking and the joy, it really ain't a mystery. I just followed my dancing feet to the University of Bourbon Street, and I got my po' boy master's degree at the University of Bourbon Street. I got my lucky dog PhD at the University of Bourbon Street. Somebody was playing their horn, they said, at the University of Bourbon Street. The University of Bourbon Street. Psst. Always. Here we go. I'm going to do this little story song kind of thing that I made up, gosh, it must have been 2005, 2006, out in New Braunfels, Texas. I was actually with one of the teachers at the retreat center in Maine is from New Braunfels, Texas, and it's right there in the hill country. The Guadalupe River's there, and I know they've had some bad floods lately, but man, it's a beautiful part of the world for nature and just fun and music. The Green Hall is there. It's the oldest dance hall in Texas, and it is all that. It's where a lot of people got their start outside of Austin, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, George Strait, and Joe Ely, the late great. You guys ever listen to Joe Ely? I mean, we just lost Joe Ely too, you know, and he got to live a pretty good long life, but man, one of the great performers of all time. And I actually got to know Joe Ely because I was a fan of The Clash. And they loved Joe Ely and talked about him a lot. So I went and I had just bought this record called London Calling by The Clash. And I loved it. And then I read this interview with Joe Strummer, who was the lead singer of The Clash. And he said, Joe Ely from Texas is the best thing happening. So I went and bought his albums. And I was like a 16-year-old punk in Alabama listening to Texas country music. That's the power of your heroes, right? And thank God for Joe Strummer for telling me to listen to Joe Ely. So. This is called Hill Country Girl. I wrote this sitting there in the hill country of Texas, and I had kind of not a morbid thought, but like kind of a depressing thought, because I was watching these like college-age girls walk by in their waitressing uniforms going to these tourist restaurants in this town. It's a tourist town in the summer, Green, Texas. And it made me think, I need to stop, ogling these young women like that old Jethro Tull song, sitting on the park bench, and so I just averted my eyes, and I thought, for some reason, what if I had met my wife and fallen in love with her and she hadn't loved me back? And so that just gave me a context for a song. I usually don't write songs about that kind of, what if, but I wrote this one, and so I made it about other people. And but anyway, this is called Hill Country Girl. It's one of my favorite little story songs. And okay. Cornflower blue were her eyes, and her hair spinning gold in the hot summer wind. Soft were the words she used when she told me she wanted to still be my friend. I said, don't misunderstand me. She said, I don't, and she turned into the haze of the twilight and walked down the road without shame or concern. Her name was Martha. Her mama died the year before. She'd been sick for a while. Helped her daddy that summer with work on the farm, and she was shy with her smile. One night we talked until sunup. The next night we kissed until the dawn. These days I dream of my Martha till daylight comes hard now that Martha is gone. Her daddy was quiet like men get to be, but his eyes said he knew everything. One afternoon he put his arm around my shoulders. He said, don't get hurt, son, you're still green. That night I asked her to marry. She laughed out loud until she wept, and she said, you saved my heart with your kindness and your comfort and your care, but I will not be kept. Some say she ruined me forever, left me heartbroken, stubborn with pride. Some say she made me the loner I am. I say her memory, that's what keeps me alive, yeah. Keep up with her as she moves through the world with a grace I admire from afar. From Austin to Nashville to LA and back to the farm in her dirty old car. Her eyes are still my horizon, and her smile's still a fine row of pearls. I can't help it, I guess, though it's made me a mess. I'm in love with a hill country girl. Though she don't love me yet, I will never regret all my love for a hill country girl. push this capo all the way up. This is a song I wrote when Todd Snyder passed. I was playing on stage in Maryland, and I got this text from somebody that was sort of in the, inner circle, whatever that was at that time, at the hospital with him, and I got this text that basically said, "Todd died, don't tell anybody." And I was like, okay, well, sorry for your loss too. But I don't think anybody meant any harm. I think it was just what are you going to say? Trying to keep people in the know. So I played the whole show, talked about Todd a lot without saying anything. And then I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go to the airport there in Baltimore, Washington, and fly back to Nashville and for a day, because I needed to go do one of those Songwriting with Soldiers trips and play some more shows. And so I really wanted to go home. So I went home, got home at like 8 o'clock in the morning, all tired, and was doing my laundry, trying to hang out with my wife. And then she had to go do some work. We both kind of worked for ourselves out of the house, And I was putting my clothes in the dryer, and I was sitting at the little counter drinking a cup of coffee. And this song just poured out of me like in about 5 minutes. And then I just felt like, well, I guess I should play it for somebody. And so I made a little recording of it because I left on the road, and I made a little recording of it in this Airbnb that I had up in Washington near Olympic National Park. I rented the cheapest Airbnb I could find, and it turned out to be on the bay looking at the Olympic Mountains. And, of course, Todd was from Oregon, so we used to have this joke. It was about Oregon. Drinking that Henry wine hearts and eating that Tillamook cheese. We made up a little jingle for the state of Oregon, but that's all we ever came up with. So I was thinking about that. But anyway, are they closing up the jail cells now? Good night. Locking you in. So I made up this tune, and I literally thought this. One of the things about post-traumatic growth is that you practice gratitude, and so I've had it preached to me so many times that I've started just doing it, like just wake up in the morning and go. I used to foolishly say, "Oh, wake up and take my first breath." It's like, no, fool, you've been breathing all night, or you would be dead. So I just say, well, I'm still alive. I'm grateful, and it really is a good thing because the simplest thing can be about gratitude. Now, if you're not grateful for waking up, then you need to see a professional. Reach out to the hotline. I mean, seriously. Anyway, I'll do this song. So I thought I said, I'm so devastated by the loss of my friend, but I'd somehow have more gratitude than grief. That's just how I felt. It was like, because I knew this guy. I got to be with him at the start of his career, got to make records with him. I got to produce a couple of records. I got to write songs with him, master songwriter. Got to be on stage and listen to him craft these stories that just reached people right into their minds and their hearts. And then these people in their jail cells, they're rattling their tin cups against the bars. I was doing some Jimmy Buffett story the other night, and my little stand with harmonicas just like fell over. So this must be Todd. Hi, Todd. We'll roll you a joint. And the thing about when somebody dies that you love, you have these memories you haven't had in a long time, right? Or maybe never have, that you didn't even know you remembered. And the first memory that came to mind was Milan, Italy, Milano. 1995, we're on tour, and we have a day off in Milan. I'm going to take the guys to see the big giant Duomo and maybe see if we can get in if they're showing the Last Supper. Maybe it's painted on the wall in there somewhere. And go see some cool stuff. Hi, Todd. Good to hear you. And so we had a day off, and we're communicating over we don't have cell phones overseas in 1995, so we're just communicating over like the phones in the hotel rooms, calling each other's rooms, what we're going to do that day. And Todd goes, "Man, I'm supposed to go have some kind of photo shoot." And I was like, "Really? What's that for?" And he goes, "I don't know." And so I called the tour manager, and she said, oh yeah, he's having a photo shoot for Dolce & Gabbana. And I was like, whoa. And so I called him and I said, I didn't know you were a male model. And he got all embarrassed, and and he was like, well, man, I've tried to get out of it. And I said, well, and he said, well, you guys have to go with me. And so we all went, and this is me and Joe, and we're dressed like this would be the finest stage clothes. We had like flannel shirts and T-shirts and Converse that were scuffy on the little rubber toes. And we got to the door, and they whisked Todd away, and somebody was like taking him by the elbow, and I was like, you are a beautiful man. Because he's like a head taller than everybody else. And then they looked at us and said, can we help you? Like, are you here to fix the toilet? And so Todd explained that we were with him and that, that we could, so we're sitting in the lobby of Dolce & Gabbana in Milan, one of the most fashionable places in the world. And everyone that walks in just kind of walks in and like just to talk to somebody, and then they see us and they're like, the whole day. But we were like, can we have more espresso, please? Yes, we would like some wine, We would like some champagne. So they were just like, ugh. And so anyway, that's my main memory. So I've known somebody for 30 years. That's what gets in the song. So I know you're sorry for my loss. I'm sorry for your losses too. It's been a long, long year. I got them old Rose City blues. From those early Memphis days to this crooked piece of time. If you keep me in your heart, I'll keep you in mind. I will not get over you. I will live in disbelief. And if I know one thing that's true, I have more gratitude than grief. Do you remember that Italian fashionista? Said you were a beautiful man, buddy. That might be the only time I ever saw you blush through your stubble and your motel tan. And all those nights we sweated through our Levi's, and we saw sunrise through the windshield of a van. Old stale reefer smoke, coffee, cigarettes. He was right, you were a beautiful man. And I will not get over you. I will live in disbelief. If I know one thing that's true, I surely do, I have more gratitude than grief. Gratitude for laughter and gratitude for smiles. Gratitude for stories rolling down those endless miles. Now you're home with handsome Johnny Prime, and I hope you find some peace and more gratitude than grief. Now, in this coming winter of our discontent, let us gather up as often as we may. Celebrate the good times, venerate the sad. Keep on speaking as a child, and remember what we say. We will sing for Jimmy Buffett and sing for Jerry Jeff, one for Billy Joe, and if we have anything left, we will sing for Peter Cooper Play a train song for skip lits, and that heavy metal has been, who still ain't worth a shit. Play one for David Olney, one for Joe Ely, one for Bobby Weir, and one for Jill Sobule, and one for Handsome Johnny. He knows everything is cool. Everything is cool. I will not get over you. I will live in disbelief. But if I know one thing that's true, I have more gratitude than grief. I have more gratitude than grief. All right, so I'm going to do a song that is not sad about somebody that I love that died. Enough of that rattling around up there. But, man, you do have to, if you can write a song and you lost somebody you love, then it sure is a good way to work some things out. So thank God for that. Thank God for songs. I can't do anything else, so here we are. Providence, Rhode Island, 1997. We're going to play at Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel. I'm not with Todd because guess what? They owed me some money, and I quit the band for like 7 weeks and went on the road with this awesome singer named Garrison Starr, who was this young girl from Hernando, Mississippi. And she's still out playing and singing anyway. So I was like, I'm not playing with y'all till you pay me my money. So I went on the road with Garrison Starr, and I was like the old guy in the band. She was like 19, and I was 36. And Garrison and her girlfriend, and then this band from Mississippi and Memphis, and it was fun. And then I went back and played with Todd. But crazy stuff that happens on the road. You're trying to work out business through musician ways. Like, I'm quitting and going on the road with somebody else. I'm just like, well, fuck you, Go ahead, famous international business. But I was out there in Providence with a day off the day off before we played at Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel, and I needed to do laundry, and I was damned if I was going to go sit in a laundromat, that whole day. So I saw this place, and I think it was called D'Alessandro Brothers. It's near the hotel, so I walked over there with my duffel bag, and I don't think it's there anymore, but it was just these brothers and cousins, and they're in there insulting each other, and they were really nice, and they were like, yeah, just leave them here, we'll do wash and fold, come back tomorrow, it'll be about $25. I was like, man, this is incredible. And so I walked around Providence all day, had a great day, and I got back the next morning and got my clothes, gave them $25, and they were folded lovingly. They even had those little paper bands, almost like those little toilet protectors. And then, remember those things? Like the worst hotels have them. Your ass is safe on this toilet. You can hang your junk down into this thing without fear. But don't drink from it. And it was a great experience because I discovered this idea of wash and fold and not sitting in a laundromat somewhere. So I was in Manhattan a month later on the road, and I had dirty clothes again. So I was like, I know what to do. I'm going to find the laundry place, and I'm going to drop my clothes off and say, I'm going to walk in and be like the guy who knows what to do. I'm going to do wash and fold, just drop them off, give me a ticket. Maybe they'll think I'm from there, think I'm cool. The guy was in there, and he has those reading glasses on his nose, and he was reading the paper kind of folded up. And he never even looked up at me, and I said, I'm going to do wash and fold, and he was like, well, wash and press is a lot better here. And I said, well, you don't understand. I was in Providence the other week. Do you know the D'Alessandro brothers? He was like, no. And I said, I'm going to do wash and fold. It's kind of a thing for me. He goes, all right, whatever. They're your clothes. So I got my clothes back the next day, and they were clean, and all the shirts like this were hanging on hangers and everything, but they're folded by an angry person. Just, that's it. That's the story. So anyway, this is what came out of that, and life lesson, So here we go. This is called Wash and Fold. So, Now meet me down at the wash and fold and let me dance before I get too old. And don't be quiet, baby, don't be cold. Meet me down at the wash and fold. Sitting pretty, sitting high and dry, and I'm not lonesome, so I won't cry. I'm not ready for the by and by. Sitting pretty, sitting high and dry. Think I'm ready for my close-up now. It's time to barbecue the sacred cow. Hallelujah, mama, don't ask how. Think I'm ready for my close-up now. I think I'm ready for it. I've been blowing bubbles at the laundrette. Show you just how clean a man can get when we're rubbing and we're scrubbing till we're soaking wet. Blowing bubbles at the laundrette. The washateria is open, babe. You can struggle, you can scrimp and save, but you can't take it with you to your grave. The washateria is open, babe. Wash and fold it with me all night long. Ain't nothing dirty, there ain't nothing wrong. You won't be worried about a thing for long. Wash and fold it with me all night long. Wash and fold it with me. Train. Let's go running naked in the Mobile rain. We're gonna have a boxcar on a Norwood train and swim across the Pontchartrain. You know that I've been smoking possum with the chimney sweeps, and the Mississippi River's running 3 miles deep. A little bitty baby snoring fast asleep, smoking possum with the chimney sweep. Bring us whiskey tender, bring us beer. Tattoo you, I wanna pierce your ears. Ain't no ancient Chinese secret here. Bring us whiskey tender, bring us beer. Right over here, right over here. Train and running naked in the Mobile rain. We're gonna have a boxcar on the Memphis train. We'll swim across the Pontchartrain. I said, now wash and fold, wash and fold. Meet me down at the wash and fold, wash and fold, wash and fold. Let me dance before I get too old. Wash and fold, wash and fold. Meet me down at the wash and fold, wash and fold, wash and fold. Meet me down at the wash and fold. I'm gonna do one more song, and dedicate this once again to my friend Todd Snyder. And this is not a song he wrote, but actually it's a song by, I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember who Guy Lombardo was, but when I was a kid, Guy Lombardo was like even more square than Lawrence Welk. Although, in retrospect, when you watch Lawrence Welk now, it's very psychedelic. Like, they have those crazy, like, lime green leisure suits, and they're playing, like, really white Dixieland kind of, you know? And it is trippy. And I bet there's a memoir that hadn't been written yet about how, you know, because they say on the Hee Haw show that everybody was, like, taking acid and stuff back behind the scenes. And I bet the same was true of Lawrence Welk. And the bubbles, you know, I mean, it's, and that little wand and everything, it's, but this song was originally done by Guy Lombardo, and this is one of the coolest songs of all time. And I mean, and Todd did it on this record called East Nashville Skyline, which is, it's, you can clap. It's a great record. And I got to, I guess, the summation of an entire lifetime in a smattering of applause. That's show business, people. That's why I drink this stuff all day long. So, hi, Todd. We miss you. You could appear to me like, just like in person, bring me a Budweiser or something. Oh, those the pipes? The heating? Is that what it is? Awesome. This is like, we're under my elementary school heating. In the bunker, the fallout shelter. So we're making this record, and Todd had asked me to be the producer of this record, and I realized, like, hours into the sessions, I was like, he doesn't need a producer. He just needs me to hang out with him and be like, yeah, man, that's good. And if he'd be like, I don't like it, and I'd go, yeah, man, do it again, you know. I think we're done. He'd be like, I don't think I'm done. Okay, I don't think we're done, you know. But he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he was in rough shape, but nobody could, I mean, maybe it's like that rarefied air of being Jimmy Buffett in chemotherapy, where he flies across the country and comes back and makes all these decisions and writes all these lyrics and sings. Todd Snyder, fresh out of rehab, just exactly knowing what to do and singing and playing and writing, just at this unreal level. It doesn't matter. The circumstances don't matter if the art is good, right? It doesn't matter. Although you want your friends to be healthy and stay alive. But anyway, anywho, listening for the rattling pipes. So, all right. So I'm going to do this one. I said it was the last song. I thank you for putting up with all this talking I do. So, when we recorded this song, Todd wanted me to play the acoustic guitar, and he wanted to just sing the words. And so we're doing it, and we're practicing it and getting a little sound check for the microphones, and the recording engineer's like probably over there smoking dope and looking at his phone, and then he goes, oh yeah, it sounds pretty good. And then in walks this singer named Elizabeth Cook. She's great, and she's a real character too. She's like actually a character on Squidbillies, and has a great radio show. She's funny as shit, great songwriter, the real deal. And her beau at the time was Tim Carroll, who's another real deal, right? I mean, he goes back to the punk rock years in New York. He was in the Blue Somebodies, but he was in this band, and he's great. John Prine's recorded one of his songs, Space Monkey, which is pretty cool if John Prine covers your song. I'm just saying. So Elizabeth and Tim walk in, and we're in the middle of practicing, and they're like, oh, guys, we're just going to sit here and listen. And Todd was like, let's get them to sing. And so I was like, go in that little closet with the microphone in there. Well, what are we doing? We're like, just put the headphones on, and you'll know what to do by the second chorus. And so we just played the song, and that's the record. That's the East Nashville Skyline version. Is like, we played it once, and then we probably smoked pot. So one of the best songs ever written, not by Todd. I don't know who, but thank you, Guy Lombardo. It's crazy, but here we go. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by as quickly as you wink, Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. You're gonna sing on the next chorus, I know, right? You work and work for years and years, always on the go. You never take a minute off, too busy making dough. Someday you say you'll have your fun when you're a millionaire. Imagine all the fun you'll have in some old rocking chair. Oh, enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by as quickly as a wink. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Your mama and dad knew this song. Where you gonna take that ocean trip, no matter come what may? You got your reservations, but you just can't get away. Yeah. Next year you say you'll see the world. You'll really get around. How far can you travel when you're 6 feet underground? Oh, enjoy. That's right, later, much later. Go ahead and have that baked potato. While you still have eyelids. Well, you worry when the weather's cold, you worry when it's hot. Like today, it was both. You worry when you're doing well, and you worry when you're not. Well, it's worry, worry all the time. You don't know how to laugh. Well, we'll think of something funny when we write your epitaph. So enjoy yourself, that's right, it's later than you think. Might be too late as we speak. Ink and rosy cheeks. As quickly as a wink. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. Hey. God bless John Prine and Jill Sobule and Bobby Weir and Joe Ely and Todd Snyder and Jimmy Buffett, Billy Joe Shaver, Jerry Jeff Walker, Marcus Aurelius, Marcus King. God bless him. Life's too short to, leave the stage and do I'll do the encore now. So I'll do, it's almost a cliche to do a Townes Van Zandt song, but I'm going to do one. And part of the reason is because I had this experience with another lost hero, Guy Clark, and a not lost hero, Rodney Crowell. I was playing at the Strawberry Music Festival out in Yosemite, California. It's like an old church camp. Like if you grew up in that part of the California, church camp was like in Yosemite. So I'm like, wait a minute, I missed out on this, We just went to the mosquito-ridden swamp where I'm from. And probably had like Jerry Garcia and Bobby Weir were like the camp counselors, you know, like a 27-minute version of Kumbaya. Kumbaya. That was Jerry Garcia doing Kumbaya. Not very good, but so I played with Rodney Crowell at the Strawberry Festival. We had a great show, and then I was off that night, and we were hanging around late because Rodney was going to play with Guy Clark at the Midnight Jam at what used to be the cafeteria for the camp, which is this room like this, but seats about 500 people. And so I was going to smoke a bunch of dope with a bunch of hippies and drink a bunch of Sierra Nevada strong-ass beer and then go watch Rodney and Guy. So I did all that, and then our drummer, who was this great Cajun drummer, Trey Landry from Sorrento, Louisiana, he ran up to me. I'm sitting on a log by a fire, like smoking pot and drinking beer, and he goes, Will, get your guitar and get over to the cafeteria. Rodney and Guy want you to play with them. And I was like, okay. So when I got my guitar, look, it was cold outside, you know, like mountain cold, so I sobered up a little bit and ran over there. And then there's Verlin Thompson, who was Guy's, you know, sidekick, you know, harmony singer, lead guitar guy. And so Verlin's like, yeah, man, they just called me over here. Let's do this. And so we sat up behind them like we're just going to be the accompanists, you know. And then Guy and Rodney were like, no, get up here. We're all going to swap songs. So I was like, okay. So it's 4 of us up there, and there's 500 people crammed in there. And every time I've got to follow Rodney, and then so it's me, Verlin, Rodney, Guy. So every time Rodney sings like some classic song that everybody knows, and then Guy sings one that's even better, and then I've got to go. So after like 3 rounds, you know, remember I'm also stoned and drunk, so I've sung all my good songs, all 3 of my good songs, and then finally the time came around, and the Guy was like desperados waiting for a train, you know, it's like Moses is singing like a country song, and then he's like, and I'm over there like, well, and I was saved, but somebody in the audience yelled out. I was trying to think of what to play, and somebody goes, play one you wish you had written. So I launched into this song. It's a Townes Van Zandt song, and when I played the first verse and kind of the first chorus, and then I started to sing the second, and then Guy sang it, and I just, you know, looked over at him, and everybody cheered, and I was like, great, I'm singing a duet with Guy Clark on a Townes Van Zandt song in Yosemite. And afterwards he said, that's what I would have picked too. So, you know, I always love this song. So, and this is a good one to leave you with all my making jokes about death. How dare I do that? And I'm from Mobile, Alabama, where our Mardi Gras symbol, and it happens every year. There's a float that goes by, and it's an old broken Roman column, probably to represent some kind of Civil War lost cause bullshit. But it's cool looking anyway. And then there's a jester, full-on jester with like bells and like with a mask on, and then death, the skeleton of death, and the jester has a pig's bladder on a stick, and is beating death and chasing him around. They call it chasing the devil around a stump. And it's the pre-Lenten, you know, it's Mardi Gras. It's pre-Lent. You know, you're supposed to party before you fast, right? It's Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. So I love that about Mobile, you know, chasing the devil around a stump. So it's good because on Mardi Gras we cheat tragedy and death for like a day, and then we go back to, you know, ashes and fasting. So, I mean, I don't, but that's what they say. So this is To Live Is to Fly. Won't say I love you, babe. Won't say I need you, babe. I'm gonna get you, babe, and I will not do you wrong. Living's mostly wasting time, and I waste my share of mine. It never feels too good, so don't let's wait too long. You're soft as glass, and I'm a gentle man. Got the sky to talk about and the world to lie upon. Days up and down they come like rain on a conga drum. Forget most, remember some, but don't turn none away. Everything is not enough and nothing is too much to bear. Where you've been is good and gone, all you take is the getting there. To live is to fly, low and high. Shake the dust off of your wings and the sleep out of your eyes. It's goodbye to all my friends. It's time to go again. Think on all the poetry and the picking down the line. I'll sure miss the system here. The bottom's low and the treble's clear, but it don't pay to think too much on things you leave behind. I may be gone, but it won't be long. I'll be bringing back the poetry and the rhythm that I find. We have all got holes to fill, and those holes are all that's real. Some fall on you like a storm, sometimes you dig your own. And the choice is yours to make, and time is yours to take. Some dive into the sea, and some toil upon the stone. To live is to fly, low and high. Shake the dust off of your wings and the sleep out of your eyes. To live is to fly, low and high. Shake the dust off of your wings and the tears out of your eyes. Shake the dust off of your wings, tears out of your eyes. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. Father, forgive us for what we must do. You forgive us, we'll forgive you. We'll forgive each other till we both turn blue, and we'll whistle and go fishing into heaven. Whistle and go fishing into heaven. Whistle and go fishing into heaven. There we go. You guys are great. Thank you so much. What a joy to get to play all those songs and tell all those stories. Let's do it again sometime. Take care of yourselves. Listen for those ghosts. They might be your friends.